So, welcome back. We are ready to start with the second part of our today's event, and we're going to have three presentations. First one will be from Kaur and Margus from Trinidad Wiseman on the do's and don'ts for JIRA and JIRA Service Desk implementations, to be followed by tempo and big picture. And guys, when you are ready, meanwhile, I can comment that I'm also somehow related to Atlassian products, and especially like most of you from the user side. We at the Zone are also running all our IT operations on top of JIRA. There is also Confluence, Bitbucket, Bamboo, perhaps something else. And as we are running it ourselves, we are also able to host it for anybody who wants to make sure their stuff keeps up 24/7 and not depending on the holidays and so on. But do we get the picture?
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I can completely. I need to do a bit of undressing first.
Kaur wants to be mobile as well.
Okay.
So it's much cooler if you have this pilot microphone. So. So while we're getting the picture on a wall, we can just thank everybody being here. Maybe it's a good that now after lunch everybody can feel good, take a little nap before the big guns come on stage later on, and we can just be a wise guys and just give you some more generic tips, what to do, what you shouldn't do. So yeah, we are just representing here Trinidad Wiseman, the Atlassian Gold Partner in Estonia, and if something happens with Atlassian in Estonia, then we might know about that, and we're somehow connected to more or less every Atlassian bigger thing happening here. So yeah, either myself or Kaur, then we can answer all your questions also here in Estonia. So, are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, we have actually a picture now. So
you tell me
start.
Next slide. I will just click.
Today we are going to speak about do's and don'ts while implementing JIRA, Service Desk, and JIRA, or Atlassian actually in general. And we have divided our speech into maybe a bit into two bigger categories. First, there are really generic change management things that are always there on a table. And you can repeat that every time, every, sales or promotion meeting, or even now. It will still come on board in the very first meetings or during the whole implementation process, so we can't go over that. And then we have a few tool-specific things that you should keep in mind, and the questions that are always popping up.
And then maybe in the end, like a short summary, how to successfully implement Atlassian tools in your organization.
Yeah. So let's move on to the change management side. And you know that if you're taking a new tool to your organization, then it's just yet another change implementation in your organization. So you should be aware of that it's not an IT project. It's covering the whole organization, dependent on the audience, on who's your own stakeholders in the organization. And yes, we are starting with those general questions now.
First, I would like to ask who many of you knows what change management is?
Okay. At least somebody knows how to change.
2/3, yes.
Roughly.
And that's basically something concerning change in your existing IT stuff. Like if you want to, for example, take a new tweak and put it into your existing solution, then what happens after?
Mm-hmm.
You have to maybe think about it.
So let's kick in. And yeah, if in the beginning, typically guys are asking, how long does it take? So it's, I don't know. Sometimes it takes days, sometimes it takes half an hour. But if we're talking like medium-sized, let's say, I don't know, service desk implementation, it roughly takes a half a year. And yeah, of course, it really is like 15 minutes for installation and then the half a year of doing what, you might ask. Then, well, actually, it's not so simple. So let's say we are analyzing your processes, your organization first few weeks, then building a proof of concept, configuring, setting everything up. Everything is running. Already a month or two is gone. Most likely you're running some other shows also in a site, because there's never, well, sometimes there is also like a full-time employee as a partner for us, but not always. And if you don't have like a dedicated people in your organization who's running the implementation process, then yeah, you are doing some other stuff also. Then first, second, third months goes by and you're not even there. And then if you have launched your JIRA service desk maybe to your like organization, like you have gone to the production, then there's also the second half of the implementation project, which is even actually the bigger than the first half, where your time was spent. Now the whole organization will start learning the new tools, new tricks, adapt with the new process, and that's the key actually. Are you willing to hold the hands there 24/7, answering questions, playing the like hotline or support? But that's how the organizational change typically happening. So yeah, be ready to take at least half a year to run this whole show. And if you think that, come on, it's really easy, it will take maybe just...
I love those customers who come, hey, we heard that there is a cool thing called JIRA Service Desk. Maybe we can get it live like next Monday. I think it's okay. Yeah.
Everybody will start using it, no problem. Yeah, we know the English language is also okay. We don't need to have Estonian version one. So yeah, everybody will learn it on the fly. But actually, it never happens.
No.
Yeah, because they will start calling you, writing you like, should I push this button or that one? And then you're always like on a phone or answering emails. So that's your everyday life. The next 3 months after you have gone live with the service desk.
Yep.
Then another tip from us is that trainings actually do pay off. So yeah, of course you have read and seen the tools in action. They do mostly what you would like, but before yeah, exactly. But before you actually start using them or start implementing then those tools to your process, just take a time and read through the manual if you don't want to take a training or purchase some extra seminars from Atlassian University, because there are really so many ways to implement it.
To learn to speak Atlassian.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just limiting your options if you don't know the tools well enough. And of course you can go from point A to point B directly, but sometimes you have to go around through the point number C, for example. So I don't know. There are really a lot of options, and then the more you know about those hidden features, the better the implementation will be.
And it's cheaper as well.
Yes, it is much cheaper.
If you speak Atlassian, it will be cheaper for you.
But the best implementation projects have started with a training, so the whole core team in the customer's organization will first go deeply into the tools. They will learn all the features, all the small tips and tricks, and then they will take the time, they will analyze, see what is the best way to use the
that
tool.
That almost never happens. But
that's
the
few
ideal
times there has
scenario.
been those scenarios as well.
Yes.
So and yes, let's move on. And well, if you don't like study the tools first, then you might end up having sort of using it in a strange way. We have seen those tools being used in let's say in different ways. So sometimes people are using Service Desk just to manage their everyday life, emails and whatever. So they don't mind that they are maybe paying a bit too much
to have an expensive email client and a lot of notifications.
But you can easily turn them off. So yes. that's what they're doing. They're just sending the emails to junk mail, and then everybody is happy again. Yes. And yeah. So what's next? Okay, the adaption.
Mm-hmm.
So as a wise guys have said, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, then change your attitude. So no, this is like really the heart of this whole implementation, that if you're just switching between tools, then there's really no point of that. You spend a lot of money and you're still in the same position. So
we always kindly accept your money, of course.
Yeah, but we have also a bit other interest, and we can spend our time somewhere else, but be ready to also change yourself as well, because
yes, well, it makes sense, I think.
Let's hope so.
Hope so. Yeah, we'll get feedback if it doesn't.
Now there's always a question like whether should we get external help or not, and of course external help is kind of like expensive. They are charging you a lot of money for doing the things.
Doing nothing, basically.
Yeah, basically they're doing nothing. But there are few advantages also having external guys on board. And first is actually that we just do things quicker. We know some stuff that you probably don't, and if you're hiring somebody to help you, then use it wisely. Use it as a weapon, not as just somebody that does your own work that you wouldn't do or you don't like to do.
And believe it or not, as an external consultant, we are not biased, and we don't want to cheat you out of your money. That's easier way to do that. Just doing what you want is actually better for us. But we sometimes like to argue with you because when we see it from the outside, we can see the flaws in your logic, which you maybe don't see yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are definitely biased, and the external consultants often are not. And then yeah. Also, in some organizations, if you start giving trainings to your employees, then they usually don't take you seriously. Maybe you're already in a really good relationship with them. Maybe you're just in the hate list of them. But if you're like taking an external guys and saying like, this is the trainer today, then everybody will listen typically. So this is also really, really good that if you are paying for it, then they're also paying attention. So there are this good thing as well. And also, what is a good thing that consultants typically have true focus on the end goal, and you most likely don't. So you might have your side projects, but the guy who's sitting next to you and asking stupid questions have only one goal, and this is what you agree in the beginning of this whole implementation project. So there are a few benefits definitely, and sometimes things can even
work out magically.
Yeah.
It sometimes happens.
Oh, the life hacks. Yeah, that's where we are good at actually. We can do stuff like this. Yesterday I wasn't trying out this one, but I was trying out the next one. Just click one more time, and yeah,
that works.
Yeah, that actually works. I was yesterday taking my external extension cord out of the cellar and trying it out, and it actually did work. So my children was asking like, what the hell are you doing? And I was saying that this is what I do at work. And they were just like, okay, now we know what to do. And this is where the consultants are actually, or the external guys are actually good at. We know those little things which we can put together to make things happen, because not always you can do the things that you want with JIRA or JIRA Service straight away. You can't change some fields, some configuration from where it should be, and then you need to go around. And if you know all those small things, post functions, automations, scripts, files, anything, then you can do magic. You can basically walk through the walls. Yes. And it happens a lot. Linking, anything can be used to anything, because the more you have seen different usages of the tools, the more you have knowledge to build something new on top of it.
And keeping in mind that if you do it the other way around, you start walking through walls, then you're going to probably hit yourself. So it's wise not to start with it, but to you know, slowly grow into it.
Yeah. So yeah, that inside JIRA you have awfully a lot of documentations, and basically everything is doable, but not always. It's just written in books and do it like that. So ask for help if you need something to happen inside there.
Okay.
Yeah. So well, this is all what we already spoke. So now let's get.
So we have a stack. It's called Atlassian stack. There are many options. So how many of you use all of these? Okay, one. Oh, maybe even okay. I believe them. Maybe those guys. Okay, so yeah. So you probably these people know, but we maybe tell just a short story. What's the difference? Like to start implementing your processes, first maybe take into consideration how wide you want to be with this stack. Maybe it's wiser to start with one piece and then grow into the whole big stack. But at some points it's maybe wise to adapt the whole thing, but then be ready to invest your own time, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to be actually a lot of work from you as well, because we can't do magic for you, because you wouldn't maybe like this magic we did if you don't come along from the start. So my cases start typically with JIRA Service Desk. Margus is mostly beginning with Confluence. So that's how it starts, but it ends usually with this whole ecosystem. And it's like bunch of plugins on top of that. But yeah, so our let's say message is that think about like where you are today and where you want to end up, let's say in a year. Long-term plans are plausible. I mean, it's quite impossible to predict what happens after a year in 21st century. But if you have a vision for the first year, it's already good. And do you want to add something to this?
Well, if I'm looking at this picture, then often people are just asking what's the difference of JIRA software and JIRA core. And most of you in here are using definitely JIRA software, which just adds the agile software development supporting features, and you don't need to know anything about JIRA core, basically, which is just an issue management system that it's basically like a legacy part of JIRA, let's say, if we can say it like that, because all the agile things came much later than the JIRA was invented.
So a short overview. Probably most of you have maybe seen this slide or not, but we'll give you just a short reminder what these different things are. So most of the people who start to speak Atlassian, they end up in cloud. They either start their 10-user cloud or maybe 25-user cloud, and then they come to us and say, hey, can you make it work for us? We have this idea, so we build the proof of concept either to the server or the cloud. And then we move on from there. Our best practice says that it's wise to start with proof of concept. The worst you can do is make a complicated RFP with like all the things you want to, must be done. Then you're probably gonna end up in the same situation than where you were, because it's not gonna change anything, as we mentioned before. And then people typically move on to server when we have finished the proof of concept. They will either rent the server or build their own server. These are the pros and cons of each solution. Well, the cloud mostly wouldn't be suitable for medium-sized organizations because there is limitations on the storage space, which is, was it 25 gigabytes, if I'm not mistaken. And this is not very much. And
5,000 users, I think, now is the limit.
Also user limit. And then they end up in a server. And when the server gets, let's say, few 100,000 issues, then they're gonna be unhappy, or the admin is gonna be unhappy. People are just, asking what's wrong, why I'm waiting 2 seconds. And then there is ability to scale. In Estonia, we have like couple of these only. I think maybe 2 implementations.
Not so much.
One.
We're still a small country.
Yeah, and but yeah,
we have only, I don't know.
I think it will happen pretty soon that the bigger instances are gonna start thinking about it. They can sleep at night, or their admins can sleep at night.
But Julio can probably confirm that from Atlassian side, the cloud and data center are definitely the leading platforms. Most likely. Well, yeah, of course, for the comparing cloud and server, then cloud is a bit ahead, I think.
In terms of functionality.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if your core processes aren't so complex, then you definitely can stay on cloud forever, because the server and data center are for those who have higher demands, who need to customize it a bit more, or are worried or regulated by different laws that you have to keep the data to yourself and protect the system anyhow.
Which is most of our customers.
Most of Estonian companies, definitely, yes. But cloud is, being always on a bleeding edge technology, basically. You will always get the new cool features first, and then don't be surprised if in one day you have one cool view and on the other day you will have like a new design and yeah, that's nothing actually changes from the side of features. They will just improve it somehow, and you should adapt with that, and it's always a good thing. So how can we skimp while purchasing the licenses? That's really often asked. Like it's just like a matter of like a psychological state. Either you're going for a win or you're just trying not to lose. So this is like some guys are calculating like, okay, I'm buying today the server license, then 2 or 3, 4 years I will not buy the renewals, and then I'm gonna save some money. But is it really like so?
Typically not, because you will need a patch in 2 months, and then especially 2 months after that you didn't buy the renewal, and then you're...
Yeah, exactly. So if you're thinking how to like really save your money, then think first like how many lost opportunities you have compared to the small payment you're doing like every year perhaps. So maybe you somehow have been like starving those 2 years, and then you see there will be a totally new application available on a marketplace that maybe speeds up your business like twice. Then you're thinking like, okay, I have to still wait for it one more year, so then I have justified my wrong decision in the beginning. But eventually, yes, it's just whether it's half full or half empty, the glass, and there's really no actual like reason why you shouldn't like buy the renewal, because all the new features, security updates, and so on and so on. So typically, yes, we just end up suggesting that there's no point of playing around and just change your attitudes. And with cloud, yeah, you just need to regularly review your user base. It's just like a hygiene. So.
Okay, now to the
real business. Haven't we seen all this cool workflow somewhere in our projects? And we have done few of those definitely as well. And this is often happens if you are just leaving the business people with a whiteboard and try to figure ourselves the best workflow that guides people in their journey.
Because people need to be guided, they're sheep.
Mm-hmm.
They
Definitely.
can't think for themselves, they have to be guided.
Yeah. And this what happens, and typically the over-engineering is a big part of
Yes.
Ruining your JIRA configuration.
But we gladly again accept your money, always. Because we can understand what it means, but nobody else does.
Yeah, even your employees won't, after a week, they won't know like why we can't go from state A to state B, and then you have already forgotten also like why did I created this sort of workflow. So definitely start with small things and with flexibility, because it's much easier to change the happy JIRA or JIRA Service Desk users than the ones who already hate that. So if you have already like started hating the tool, then you will fight against it. So if you are implementing JIRA or JIRA Service Desk, create a really simple workflow in the beginning, allowing to move from any state to any state, and then gradually then just turn on few of the rules and then start like moving people from point A to point B.
Remember the story about walking through the walls. So this is when you hit it.
Yes.
If you do it in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Marketplace. That's as already the previous speakers told, this is the place where magic happens. And yes, you can do almost anything with all the Atlassian tools. And if you're there on a marketplace, then keep few things also in mind. At first, if you're like searching for some app, then review or do the small due diligence for the vendor who's providing some app, because you can't build your system relying on some company who's maybe yesterday did something, but tomorrow they will be gone. So search for the top vendor apps preferably, because Atlassian also set some sort of limits for vendors. So if you have proven that you have all those support lines and etc., then you will become like a top vendor, and then you can basically trust that party. This organization won't probably die tomorrow, and you won't be in a deep hole after. You won't get any, I don't know, bug fixes or something from the marketplace apps.
Typically what happens is Atlassian will launch a new version, like a big change, let's say version 8 or version
Let's
7.
say random number, JIRA 8.
Yeah. And then you have chosen an app which you have based all your important processes, and it's not anymore supported. Yeah.
So definitely don't build your core processes relying on those apps, or if you do, then
make sure it's
make a sustainability plan as well. What happens if your JIRA server or Atlassian cloud gets hit by, I don't know, some nuclear weapon or something like that? So think what happens if everything is dead, and what happens then? And also please do save the configuration. If you're in a happy state, then and using server, of course, then store the versions so you can always return. Because yes, also when you're mixing too many different applications, of course you can get things done. Maybe you're even adding some piece of code or some script to make few apps communicate between each other, but then if one app is upgrading, then one side is broken. You can fix that maybe, but then if there's more of those apps and more of those, let's say, stakeholders in your process, then eventually you just can't make it work anymore. So yeah, think about that before installing yourself hundreds of different apps and making yourself happy with that. So the architecture thing.
Okay, so it is wise after the training, as Margus told before, in the ideal world, a client comes to us, says, I want to speak Atlassian, can you teach us? We say yes, and then we teach them, and 2 months pass and they're fluent.
Mm-hmm.
And then we think about the architecture, and then we do a proof of concept, and then we go live. But this never happens because
sometimes it does.
Very, very rarely. But yes, so it maybe just an idea is to think about the architecture, what you are building, so that you understand what your JIRA or whatever Atlassian tool is doing. So all the inputs, outputs, somebody has to do this,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to support this.
And also take this time just to draw up your whole infrastructure picture, basically, because I think all of our backyard is changing every day. So even your latest architecture picture maybe isn't up to date today. So it's really good to throw this whole thing on a wall with all the external systems and see where the information is moving and what are the interfaces. Because, for example, often what can happen that you see that you're paying a lot of money for some external system. So let's take a random example. Let's say time reporting. you have external time reporting system, and then you have JIRA, and all your developers and all your team is working in JIRA, and then they are switching between JIRA and this time reporting system. But you have Tempo, for example. Or the same with the asset management and Riada. So sometimes you can make things simpler if you are looking the whole overall picture, and you can switch off some of your external, maybe non-compatible systems from a picture, and everything is actually much cleaner and
simpler.
Yeah, people are just in one system, and they can do everything there. So yeah, definitely have a good this architectural drawing before you start doing things. And yeah, if you still think that you need some custom development, then know that it's doable, but it's also kind of like expensive. Everything is actually doable, but there are some technical complexity. If you want few parties to speak between each other, then you always need to learn first all their languages. You always need to learn all the APIs of all the systems, and then you will have to figure how to put that all into Atlassian sandbox. And not even they have all the documentation updated, so you don't find always the answer from the cookbooks, basically. And then you need to dive into Atlassian community. That is actually really, really great. And if you're doing the custom development, you can ask things from the, let's say, Atlassian speakers, and then you will get the answer sometimes a lot faster than going through all the manuals and all the things, because not everything is really like black and white as it is. So yeah, the custom development is doable, but definitely it depends on your use case again, like how hard or how complex it is, or yeah, what are the systems that you need to integrate with, like for example, if there's some evil system opposite, then you can't never get good thing out of that.
Do you think we have any customers left after this presentation, because we basically say everything that we advertise is bad, you know?
Well, even a bad publicity is still a publicity, so let's keep on rolling.
Yes.
So yeah.
For the good part.
For the good part, yes. Almost every day somebody asks, like, can JIRA, Confluence, or whatever Atlassian tool do this?
Yes.
Yes, it can.
But
always. Everything is possible, and there are few obvious reasons also why it's possible.
well, it's open source. You can configure it almost like inoperable state,
yeah.
if you want to.
First thing is that the tools are awfully customizable, really awfully. You can do everything. You can break the system also by just clicking around there. Then there's this marketplace that adds a really lot of options again. So if you still can't do anything, then yes, as Kaur said, you can take JIRA source code, delete everything, and basically compile your own software under the name of JIRA if you wish.
But keep in mind, then you need to have like team of 8 people supporting it, or I
Yes.
don't know how big your organization is, but we have seen some cases where people decide to rewrite JIRA source and then burn it.
Then you're basically living from one upgrade to another. Your whole team is preparing for the next JIRA version by taking the changes that they have made to JIRA and testing it out with the new JIRA version. And so it, money burns with a huge flame, actually. And is there a point? Maybe it's cheaper to change yourself, but sometimes it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
this slide I put in just to again advertise, because we are a user experience company, and we always want to achieve the best user experience. But it's just a bit, but if you move the slider here to the end, then you will have this guy. So if you move it like, let's say, the ideal balance is somewhere in between, because the more you go to the left, the more you will have this guy, because this is your admin who has to, support it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you switch these around and your admin is happy, then probably these guys are really unhappy. So the truth is somewhere always in between, in moderation.
Try to be reasonable. It's really easy to say.
Yeah.
So yet another frequently asked question.
Yes. Can we use Confluence as document management? Yes.
Nope.
But yes. Yeah, but does it make sense? No.
Yeah, actually, the Confluence is a collaboration tool, as Atlassian itself says, and the idea is to lose all the physical files in your hard drive. You don't need to ever worry about did my Dropbox synced, or did I overwrite somebody's file now, and this sort of like nightmares that even I did have experience with the OneDrive and a company called, I don't know the name of it, whatever point. And just the things will be overwritten if you're managing the standard files, and then the idea of Confluence is to have like the online documentation
and no files. Actually,
no
you will
files.
lose the Word file because it's on the page now. You will take the
it's
contents
exactly
of
the same,
file
but
and
it's
you will
just
put it on
better.
the page.
So you don't. Well, there is one downside. The companies who are actually working with Estonian digital signature. Well, I think if we would be able to get the support for Confluence pages and electronic signature, that would be really cool as well. But it's kind of like, if you know how the ID card works with your computer, then imagine how hard it would be to implement in Confluence. So probably,
it's
probably from Confluence side, it's really easy and doable, but I don't know, the certificates and all this crap that never works on my machine, at least. I don't want to deal with that, so better just use few files still, but keep everything else in the Confluence, and you can see all the versioning, everything. You can do everything there, collaborative edit, anything, and it just works.
So basically, you need a browser and you need like a pad of some sort, or a PC of some sort, or a phone, and you can do it simultaneously without installing ever Word and Excel. That's the idea of Confluence.
Yes, you already mentioned the phone, so JIRA and Confluence has native apps as well, and they sometimes help quite a lot, especially if you're on a road and you don't have access to this large screen thing where you can do things better, but the apps work fine.
So coming back to the implementation.
Yeah, back to the roots.
Back to the roots. So you want to start?
You can go ahead. I don't mind.
Okay. So just to repeat everything that we said. Learn, okay, learn. Then take trainings, analyze, so that you know what you are actually ordering, and then just take a step back and look what you have drawn on the wall and think about, does it make sense or is it too complicated? And then if it seems that it's not too complicated, you can maybe go and choose additional apps. And of course, if you get into trouble, we are here to help you, always. And so you have basically a choice either to create the proof of concept, test it, start growing your in-house product owner, and it will spread across your organization itself.
Be ready to change.
If you start with this point backwards, then it's gonna be horror most of the time. Sometimes miracles happen.
Yeah, we have seen exceptions. So.
Yes.
So yeah.
So what's a successful implementation for us? How do we decide which was successful? Where we have seen that the company has changed. It has changed a lot. Otherwise, we don't count it as successful implementation. Otherwise, it's just taking one tool and replacing with the other and paying us for that. So if you want to do that, we accept your money again. But have you won something? I don't know.
Because if company changes, then often people are a bit happier also because they are actually achieved their true end goal. Because of course, in the beginning of every project, we are setting this dream goal that we would like to achieve. But if that happens, then the organization must typically also change. But yeah. So I think.
If you have questions, we are happy to answer.
Shoot.
And I can throw you a microphone if you have a question.
If you can catch.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, this is not the soft microphone box, unfortunately, so I must be very careful. I can just add one comment that being from a company which has like half of market share of .de domains, and most of these are being digitally signed. I have not checked how many of these have been signed by mobile ID and how many by ID card, but if anybody needs help in implementation, then probably we can at least tell it's doable. And even if the state has decided to change the complete format of ID card, like it has happened during the past year a couple of times, turns out it's actually completely doable to do these things. So please do a digital signing plugin for Confluence. We're also using internally the products, and in several occasions it might be a pretty fancy thing to use for, I don't know, managing our JIRA's part of, also in the JIRA managing the part which has letters ISMS at the beginning, where we may need to have some official proof on top of that. So yeah. Any questions in addition to my comments? If not, then I think we should thank the presenters.